One of the books I read that he was Gone with the Wind, which is like 1,000 pages long. So I immediately made up for it by reading a couple of very short books and counting them also as books. So I mean, this is definitely cheating. But at the same time, the worst thing about it is when you're reading to a deadline, you partially deprive yourself of the pleasure of reading. Because reading is also about savoring the words, savoring the context, if necessarily going back on something, you know, that you want to see once again how something has been expressed. Or sometimes you read a book and the ending surprises you and you want to go back to earlier bits of the book to see whether that ending was prefigured, whether the author has done justice, whatever it may be. And all of those things, you don't have time to do because you're very anxious to put one more notch on your list so you can go on to the next one. That wasn't a great idea. So when I finished that year, and I did finish before Christmas, I decided never to do that again. And I've never ever held that up as an example of something to do. If I ever tell the story of doing it, I tell the story with a certain amount of chagrin. It really wasn't a smart thing to do. But I mean, I imagine that was the year I read the most. But I would imagine that throughout my childhood, well until the time I became a very busy adult, I must have read a couple of hundred books a year. Then, as one gets busier, one gets less and less time. Social obligations start coming in adult life, other demands, other obligations, work. My own writing also occupied the time that would otherwise have been available for reading. You suddenly start reading only on planes, or you start reading for a purpose, like when I'm writing something that requires a certain amount of research. The time devoted to writing is all focused on reading for that book that you're writing. So whether it's Nehru's biography, I read an awful lot of Nehru. 1 year I read nothing but Nehru, or Ambedkar similarly. Or when I did a book during COVID called The Battle of Belonging, which was about nationalism and patriotism. And I must have read about, 150. I can't say I read every word of every book, because when you're reading for a purpose, you know what you're looking for in the book, and you read those sections or those